Hello, YouTube. I want to talk about this section right here. Somebody pointed out, um, what's the guy's name? Like BioSpark88 pointed out that there's a little bit of slowdown at 220, which is in a few seconds. Right there. So I was able to fix that slowdown pretty easily, and I'll just play the game. I use the select button to skip levels, which is something that I programmed so I could get to whatever level I want really quickly without having to play every single level over and over and over again. Okay, so you have this guy. There you go. Now I still have 14 lives left, which is good. 13. Just gotta keep shooting his head. I think this boss is a little bit too hard compared to all the rest of the bosses. Okay, there we go. See, it didn't slow down in that section, and the reason is because okay, now this explaining is pretty difficult because I tried making this video several times before and I kept stuttering like crazy because I'm not very good at speaking. This routine takes up a lot of CPU cycles, and it's what this routine does is it drops out backmost sprites. So if you ever done Super Nintendo programming, you would know that when there's too many sprites on a scan line, the Super Nintendo drops out the frontmost sprites, which is different from how the Sega Genesis and the TurboGrafx-16 do it. Whereas those other systems, like most other systems, drop out the backmost sprites first, which is a little bit better because when you're making an action game, you want the player and the enemies to not to be the most visible. So you want to see the enemies and the bullets and the player in front of all the explosions so you could see what's going around. And you also don't want the bullets and the enemies and the player to flicker because those things are very important. That's hard to do on the Super Nintendo because the Super Nintendo drops out the frontmost sprites. So because I have this routine, I'm able to like this. You could see that she's in front of this explosion, and you could also, and so are the wait, I'm gonna try to pause it with a lot of. Wait, dang it, wait. He's right in the sky. Wait, okay. Wait, I keep, okay. Wait, I'm looking for the best part to, okay, here's a good place to pause it. See, notice how, like, Alicia isn't, and the enemies are in front of the explosion clouds. And like this is good because you're able to see, like the enemies without being without being blocked by the explosions. And if you ever played, saw previous videos, I used to have it where the explosions were in front of the player and enemies, which makes it harder to see what's going on screen. And the reason for that was because the frontmost sprites on the Super Nintendo flicker more than the backmost sprites. So I did that as a way of like I did it so that the explosions would flicker more than the player. But now that I like added this routine to drop out the backmost sprites, it could like it could I could have the explosions behind the player and enemies without making the player and enemies flicker. So this routine, how this routine works, it goes through every single sprite, and it counts how many sprites are on a scan line. If there's too many sprites on a scan line, it drops the sprite out. I was able to. The problem with that routine is that it takes a lot of CPU processing power, so I was able to get around with it a few different ways. There's like really CPU intense bosses like the Robo Seahorse. They get around it by setting a flag that bypasses the flicker reduction routine, so that because the Robo Seahorse takes up a lot of CPU power, uh, uh, enabling the setting this flag bypasses the flicker reduction routine, so that it's able to run at 60 frames per second. Now, like here you may notice that I, instead of just like writing a 1 to the register, I incremented it. I'm able to do that because that I wasn't supposed to press a Z. That I hit a button by mistake. I'm able to do that because the game engine clears this register every frame. And originally, the way I originally had it was that if a boss was destroyed, as soon as a boss gets destroyed, the game instantly goes back into into flicker reduction mode, even when the explosion from the boss is still on screen. So, which is why you saw slowdown. You abruptly saw slowdown as soon as that boss exploded at the 220 mark. So I was able to fix that by turning in the object handler, making this. Wait, how many minutes do I have left? I'm trying to get this under 13 minutes. So I was able to. I turned the sprite dropout disable register into a counter, so that if you set a number, it takes that many frames. It waits that many frames before going back into flicker reduction mode. So in the bosses, the boss physics down here where it's like big spawn single explosion and circle, where it says it right here, like load 40 in hexadecimal, which is 64 in decimal, and sort in this register. So it when it explodes, it counts down from 64 to 0, and then before it turns the game back into flicker reduction mode. And I was able to I was able to speed up the even the parts that don't go in, that don't disable the flicker reduction mode. even those parts I was able to speed up simply by combining the Metasprite the Metasprite routine and the reduce flicker routine into combine them both into one routine so that that does like one routine that does two jobs. And the reason why this saves a lot of cycles is because it cuts down, say, see, like there's like a loop. This part right here, wait, no, wait, not that part. This part right here loops. It only has to loop like through every sprite once instead of twice like it did earlier. And also, um the sprite y coordinate is still in the accumulator before it go when it goes into the large sprite dropout macro. And there's all just there's also like a small sprite macro too. This is the code for small sprites. And another good thing is that, like, instead of like having to check which size every sprite is again, it already knows, like, like what what's what sprite size it is. And another like thing that speeds it up is the fact that if it's jumping, if it if the sprite drops out, it branches out here, which this label is the same as that label, and which is the same as uh wait, where's that macro? Okay, which is the same as this label, which is the same as that label. It just, jumps back here. It doesn't have to finish, like putting the sprite attributes, like into the sprite attribute table. It could just, like jump back to the, like next sprite. So I did all that stuff speeds up my code. So like that was like fixing the slowdown in that section of the game was pretty easy. So bye.